In the early 20th century, mankind was racing toward modernity. Trains roared across continents. Skyscrapers began piercing the skies, and the world's oceans became highways for migration, trade, and luxury travel. Among all these marvels of progress, one stood above the rest, the RMS Titanic, a ship so massive, so luxurious, and so technologically advanced that it was famously called unsinkable. But the Titanic's story would go down in history, not as a tale of triumph, but as one of the greatest maritime disasters ever known. This is the full story of the Titanic, from her conception and construction, to her tragic sinking in April 1912, and the legacy she left behind. The birth of a dream, the Titanic was born out of fierce competition. At the time, two companies ruled the Atlantic, Cunard Line and White Star Line. Cunard already had two speed demons, the Lusitania and the Mauretania, both record holders for the fastest transatlantic crossings. White Star knew they couldn't beat speed. Instead, they chose another path, luxury and size. In 1907, J. Bruce Ismay, chairman of White Star Line, met with Lord William Peary, head of Harland and Wolff Shipyard in Belfast. Together, they envisioned three colossal ocean liners, the Olympic, the Titanic, and the Britannic. The Titanic would be the crowning jewel, 882 feet long, 92 feet wide, weighing 46,000 tons, and capable of carrying more than 2,200 passengers and crew. Construction in Belfast in 1909. Construction began in Belfast, Ireland. Thousands of workers hammered steel plates, riveted beams, and shaped the largest moving object ever created at that time. The ship's sheer scale was staggering. It required a special gantry taller than most buildings to assemble her. Inside, Titanic was a floating palace, a grand staircase with carved oak, gilded details, and a glass dome overhead. A Turkish bath, swimming pool, squash court, and even elevators. First-class cabins designed like suites in luxury hotels. Meanwhile, second class was still more comfortable than most ships' first class. And third class, though basic, offered clean bunks, dining rooms, and safety far better than immigrant ships of the past. By 1911, Titanic was ready for her sea trials. She was hailed as unsinkable because of her watertight compartments, 16 giant sections that could be sealed off in case of flooding. Engineers boasted that even if 4 compartments flooded, Titanic would stay afloat. The maiden voyage in April 10, 1912. The Titanic prepared for her maiden voyage from Southampton, England to New York City. On board were the wealthy elite, millionaires like John Jacob Astor IV, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidor Straus, alongside emigrants from Ireland, Scandinavia, and Eastern Europe, all chasing the American dream. The ship stopped at Cherbourg, France, and Queenstown, now Cove, Ireland, before setting out across the Atlantic with more than 2,200 souls on board. Captain Edward J. Smith, a veteran seaman nearing retirement, commanded Titanic. He was proud, calm, and considered one of the safest captains alive. The voyage, across the Atlantic for the first 4 days, the Titanic's voyage was smooth and splendid. Passengers dined on multiple-course meals, danced in the grand ballroom, and walked the promenade decks. Third-class families sang songs and shared stories in the lower decks, excited for their new life in America. But not all was carefree. Titanic's wireless operators, Jack Phillips and Harold Bride, received iceberg warnings from other ships in the area. Several reports came in, especially from the Mesaba and the Californian, alerting Titanic of dangerous ice ahead. Yet, Titanic steamed forward at nearly full speed, around 22 knots. Some historians argue Captain Smith wanted to showcase Titanic's speed and arrive ahead of schedule, while others say it was simply standard practice. April 14, 1912, the collision. The night of April 14th was calm and moonless. The sea was like glass, making icebergs harder to spot. Lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee scanned the horizon from the crow's nest. Strangely, they had no binoculars. At 11:40 p.m., Fleet rang the bell 3 times and called down, "Iceberg, right ahead!" First Officer William Murdoch ordered the ship to turn hard to port and reverse the engines. Titanic swerved, but it was too late. The iceberg scraped along the starboard side, slicing open the hull below the waterline. The damage stretched across 5 compartments, one too many for the ship to survive. Water began flooding rapidly. Titanic was doomed. The struggle for survival at first, most passengers didn't realize the severity. The collision felt like a gentle shudder. But deep below, water gushed in. Captain Smith and designer Thomas Andrews assessed the damage. Andrews delivered the chilling verdict. Titanic will sink. She cannot float with 5 compartments flooded. You have about an hour, maybe 2. Titanic carried lifeboats for just over 100 people, barely half on board, and far fewer than regulations demanded. Many believed she didn't need more because she was unsinkable. At 12:05 a.m., lifeboats were uncovered. Orders were given, women and children first. But confusion and disbelief led to lifeboats leaving half empty. Lifeboat 1, designed for 65 people, departed with just 12. Meanwhile, the band, led by Wallace Hartley, played music on deck to calm passengers. Some said their last tune was, "Nearer, My God, to Thee." The final hours by 1:30 a.m., Titanic was sinking faster. The bow plunged lower, the stern rising. Panic spread. Distress rockets lit the sky. Wireless operators sent repeated SOS calls. The Carpathia, 58 miles away, responded and raced to help, but it would take hours. The Californian was closer, only about 10 miles away, but its wireless operator had gone to bed, and distress rockets were misinterpreted. By 2 a.m., only a handful of lifeboats remained. Families were torn apart as men were forced to stay behind. Some, like Benjamin Guggenheim, dressed in their finest and declared, "We are prepared to go down like gentlemen." At 2:18 a.m., Titanic's lights flickered and went out. The great ship broke in two, the stern rising nearly vertical before plunging into the freezing Atlantic. At 2:20 a.m., Titanic was gone. The aftermath: over 1,500 people perished in the icy waters. Only 705 survived, rescued hours later by the Carpathia. Survivors described haunting scenes, people screaming in the water, then silence as hypothermia claimed them. The disaster shocked the world. Newspapers everywhere mourned the unsinkable ship that sank. Investigations followed in both Britain and America. New maritime laws were passed. Ships must carry enough lifeboats for everyone. Lifeboat drills became mandatory. Per hour. Wireless radio watch was required on all ships. International Ice Patrol was created to monitor. Icebergs, the legacy of Titanic, became more than a shipwreck. It became a legend. Books, films, songs, and memorials kept her story alive. In 1985, Dr. Robert Ballard finally discovered Titanic's wreck, 2 miles beneath the ocean, eerily preserved in darkness. Today, Titanic's story continues to fascinate. It is a reminder of human ambition, pride, and tragedy. She was built as the most advanced ship of her time, yet was undone by overconfidence in nature's unforgiving power. The Titanic was meant to be a triumph of engineering and luxury, but instead, she became a timeless symbol of human vulnerability. Her story is one of dreams, of loss, and of lessons that shaped the future of sea travel. More than a century later, the name Titanic still echoes through history, not just as a ship, but as a story of hope, tragedy, and the eternal question, what if?